Hello and welcome into the Knicks. My name is George, and if this is your first time here or you've been here before but have not subscribed yet, please do so, along with turning on the notification bell so you're alerted when I drop a new video and if I go live. All right, and also hit the thumbs up button. Very much appreciate that, and drop your comments. Definitely want to hear your feelings, especially on this video, because on this video I'm going to predict 3 different scenarios, what the Knicks will probably do, most likely, depending on certain situations. But I will predict what the Knicks will do if they stay at 11, and there's 2 trade-up scenarios, and I'll go all the way through it. But first, we're going to cover the latest news that's been brewing up until this moment concerning the Knicks. All right, here we go. The latest news, actually right here, we could start with this rumor that came out. The Knicks are, this is from Mark Stein. Hoops Hype covered this from Mark Stein. The Knicks are widely regarded as a team looking to shed a number of contracts, such as those possessed by Alec Burks, Kemba Walker, and Nerlens Noel, to create salary cap space for the potential pursuits of Dallas's Jalen Brunson, and perhaps even gasp Brooklyn's Kyrie Irving. Yet Monday night also delivered the strongest rumbles I've heard to date, with a new multi-year deal to keep Mitchell Robinson in New York is looming. And I reported that yesterday on the live stream with Foxy, that it looks like the Knicks and Mitch's team are getting closer to figuring out a deal together, which is good news. I think that's really good news. Now, something else happened today, unfortunately. Alec Burks, he underwent foot surgery. Yep, but he is expected to return for the start of training camp. Now, apparently, he's had some foot issues. He's had two other procedures in the past, or he's injured it twice before and just kind of let it heal. I'm not exactly sure, but it was causing him discomfort. He wasn't quite feeling 100%. You know what? That could explain a little bit of his inability to drive and finish at the hoop the way that, we had seen in the first time around with Burke. So, that's good. That's good that he got it taken care of. Unfortunately, the timing is a little weird right now, considering the Knicks are trying to shed his salary. So, and Fred Katz reported, I've heard the Knicks have been making a legitimate effort to move Alec Burks with the hopes of taking back little to no salary. The news about his surgery affects his value. If healthy, Burks is considered around a net neutral contract. And then Stephen Bondi tweeted this out. He retweeted this. Knicks are trying to unload deals for a run at Jalen Brunson. I don't agree with the strategy if it means they're throwing in draft picks and prospects. I agree with Stephen right here. And the whole pursuing Brunson thing is still a bit of a head scratcher for me personally, especially when you consider Mark Cuban said that they're gonna re-sign him. So if we're not gonna go past $100 million for 4 years, I don't see how we're going to hold on to him, how we're going to take him away from the Dallas Mavericks. They must know something. It could also be Leon trying to do Brunson a solid by letting these rumors percolate, because we don't know why they're opening up cap space. They could just be wanting to get out from under these contracts to get some of these vets off the team, so that the path for the young core to get significant minutes opens up for them. Because we know how Thibs is. If Thibs has Burks and Nerlens and these other guys, he's going to use them, and that's going to take minutes away from the young guys, which is what we want. We want as the fan base. So this is a little suspicious to me. It might be a plan C, a plan B. It might be a situation where Dallas, maybe they've heard otherwise. Maybe that's what Mark Cuban said right after the Mavs were, pushed out of the playoffs. Maybe there's been a change in mood, but I doubt it. I just don't see it, because Brunson was their second best player, and the Mavericks made a pretty deep run into the playoffs this year. And I expect the West to get even more competitive next season. So you're going to need all your good players, your best players, especially players that work well together, like Luka and Jalen Brunson did. So this is a wait and see. It's interesting, something to keep a note of. Tommy Beer, who, we love here on the Knicks-Verse, Beautiful article today. If you guys haven't read it, you should definitely read it. If you haven't subscribed to his Substack, you should. He tweeted this out. It kind of recaps a little bit of what was in his article. And this is what we have said here. Actually, we may even have been the first to put this out here, to put out the idea that spending more than $18 million per year for a point guard that's not going to drastically change this franchise, okay, which I don't see Brunson drastically changing this franchise, or a Malcolm Brogdon, who we've talked about, 20 million, 25 million. I mean, that just sounds like crazy money when you have Immanuel Quickley here. Immanuel Quickley will make just 2.3 million next season, or 20 plus million less than Malcolm Brogdon and Jalen Brunson. Are we absolutely sure that IQ can't make something resembling the leap we saw from Tyrese Maxey in Philadelphia this past year? I'm pretty sure that IQ, if given the keys, he can make that leap. Now, could he make it as drastic a leap as Maxey made? That was pretty impressive last season, but that was out of necessity as well. I think yes. And actually, Quickley is a better long-range shooter than Maxey at the moment. So, this is something definitely to consider. Something else is part of this. This is part of this tweet thread that's in the article. Just a comparison of the first 2 seasons of Brunson and Quickley. Brunson's first 2 years in the NBA, he averaged 8.8 points, 3.2 assists, 2.3 rebounds, 0.8 made three-pointers, and his true shooting was 55.1%. Now, that's a key one right here, because obviously the minutes, he didn't put in how many minutes Brunson played per game here. So we know that Quickley did average about 20 minutes per game. I think he's averaged about 20 minutes per game over his 2 years in total. Actually, not 100% on that, but I think that's pretty much where we're at. Well, Quickley in his first 2 seasons have averaged 11.4 points per game. So that's almost 4 points more. And 2.8 assists, a little bit down on the assists, 2.7 rebounds. Quickley's become a good rebounder from the one position. And he made 1.8 three-pointers throughout his career in his first 2 years. But the true shooting, 54.9%. You got to remember, Quickley is one of the best free throw shooters in the entire NBA. In fact, he was leading for a long stretch of the season at one point. That's only a 0.2 below Brunson. So he is trending in the direction to be at least as effective a player as Jalen Brunson became. I think Quickley can do it next season. That is my prediction. So wasting money and assets to acquire Brunson seems like a silly decision. Seems like a panic move by the front office and Thibs, honestly. Now we know that they need to turn this team around. Last season was a down year based on the first season of 2020-21. And they may be getting a little desperate. We're not sure what the situation is. But I'm not liking it. I'm not digging this. But you guys already know that. The next thing is, now this was a relief. Because remember, actually we discussed yesterday. Oh no, I guess that was 2 videos ago. I can't even remember now. Now I'm losing track, putting out so many videos. But right here, the Knicks have been unwilling to include the number 11 pick in a trade for Malcolm Brogdon, per Windhorst. That is a relief, because the idea of giving up the 11th pick for an injury-prone 30-year-old point guard making 25 plus million a year just doesn't seem smart. Does not seem smart, especially when you have a guy like Quickley there, ready to take the keys. All right, next. Here's a rumor. Popped up today. Or was it yesterday? Knicks, Pistons talked New York moving up in draft. Cam Reddish discussed. The Knicks have had discussions with the Detroit Pistons about a trade for the number 5 pick in this year's draft, according to SNY's Ian Begley, and Cam Reddish's name has been included in those conversations. Now that's interesting. For the 5th pick, I have a theory here. I think the Kings, ready? I don't think the Kings are going to draft Jaden Ivey. I don't think they want to draft Jaden Ivey. I don't think they need Jaden Ivey. They have De'Aaron Fox, who responded very well when Sabonis was traded to the team. He actually closed the year out very well. We know how dynamic he can be. Now, with a proper 4-5 guy that he can play off of, he is playing better now. And they have Davion Mitchell. They've been drafting guard after guard after guard. I know they got rid of a couple of them in the trade for Sabonis, but it doesn't seem like they didn't even interview him. He hasn't even worked out. Ivey has not worked out for the Kings, which I reported recently. I think the guy they want is Keegan Murray, but they're afraid of taking him at the 4. So, what about this possibility? Knicks get the 5th and flip it for the 4th with the Kings. Then the Kings get Keegan because they know that the Knicks will take Ivey at 4. Now, don't know the actual particulars of how that could work, but that is something to bear in mind. Keep in mind, that could be the big draft night surprise where the Knicks get the 5th pick, flip it for the 4th, grab Ivey, Kings take Keegan at 5, and Detroit at 11. Well, now they made the trade for Jeremy Grant, so they got their power forward. Actually, no, they got rid of their power forward. That's Portland. Portland won't grab a power forward at 7, so maybe one of these other guys will drop down to Detroit. Some of these interesting power forwards, like there's Sohan. There's Terry Eason will definitely be there at 11. So it could be something in that range there. I don't know, pure speculation, but Reddish's name is being discussed. And I know for the Reddish fans, that's painful. But the truth is, we don't really know what Reddish is about. We don't. And, he's in that pivotal 3rd year. It's like, what are we going to do with him salary-wise? It's going to be interesting. I think I'm not totally against moving off of Cam Reddish if it means us bringing in someone like an Ivey. And here, this was NBA Trade Report tweeted this out. Sources. Portland is strongly considering New York's offer of Alec Burks, Nerlens Noel, and pick 11 for the 7th overall pick in tomorrow's NBA draft. Now, I put this in here. Now, I mentioned the other idea of them because they were talking to Detroit for the 5th pick. If that doesn't work out, this is something else that's being discussed. So Portland is strongly considering this. Now, they just made a deal to acquire Jeremy Grant. And it's possible that they could see an Alec Burks and Nerlens Noel, who, when healthy, is an effective defender. He's an effective defender. We know that. We know he is. Let's see if... I just want to make sure about something. Yes. Okay. And then Burks, very productive wing, who can handle the ball at times. He could be another piece there to add to put around Lillard, because the Portland Trail Blazers are trying to get back into the playoffs in a meaningful way. That's how they're going to hold on to Lillard. The youth movement for them isn't where it's at. They want to acquire quality veterans that can really help in the win column and surround and support Damian Lillard. So, and now that they have Jeremy Grant, Burks and Nerlens make a lot of sense. More sense than drafting, a Shaden Sharp. All right, so put that in there. Now, next is a trade idea that someone tweeted out. This is fun. Brock Aller, Twitter account. Brock Aller Masterclass. All right, number 1, trade the 11th pick, Noel and Burks, to Portland for the 7th pick, which is what we just saw that Portland is considering. Number 2, trade the 7th pick, the 2022 New York Knicks 2nd round pick, and the Dallas 2023 1st round pick. And the 23 Detroit 2nd round pick, which should have some value, and Cam Reddish. This, of course, if they don't make the deal with Detroit, for the 4th pick. And then the Knicks pick Jaden Ivey with the 4th pick. I've asked around. Apparently, this is possible. Now, I'm not 100% sure it is, but it's an interesting idea. There's just too much smoke surrounding Jaden Ivey to the Knicks for there not to be some path or 2 or 3 available to Leon Rose to make this happen. So, keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. This is why. My prediction is, if the price is right, the Knicks will definitely make the move. They're not going to hesitate. I mean, unless, the price just goes way too high. But if it's not, Jaden Ivey will be a New York Knick by tomorrow, 9 p.m. Let's cross fingers crossed on that. I would be ecstatic because if you notice in these scenarios, no IQ, no Obi, no Grimes even. Think about that team. Think about that young core. I know everyone's like all freaking out. Oh, you can't acquire an Ivy without giving up those type of players, at least 1 or 2 of those type of players. Well, here is a path where it could happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen, just saying it could happen. And there's just too much. If you read the tea leaves, the Kings not interviewing Ivy. Portland wanting vets that can help win now. Detroit being active, opening cap space. And the Knicks needing an electrifying, athletic, uber athletic guard. Well, to satisfy all of those things. Now, if that doesn't happen, if the Knicks stay with the 11th pick and no trades are made, my prediction, who the Knicks will end up with, and I'm very happy with this prediction. AJ Griffin. AJ Griffin is the best shooter in college. Acquiring the best shooter can't be a bad thing. And people were concerned about his injuries, but you know what? He played every game last year for Duke. That's nice. And that was the first season that he's played since his injuries. And as Foxy reported, that he could not find whether AJ had been under the knife. So he has never been under the knife for his knees. Yes, they got dislocated, but they obviously healed well enough so he could play an entire season and go to the Final Four with Duke. And he was a very pivotal player in that Duke team behind Paolo in terms of scoring and versatility. But his long-range shooting is just 45% from three-point line. Just outstanding. Outstanding. I think the Knicks, this would be, if the Knicks got AJ Griffin at 11, I would give the Knicks draft grade an A. Of course, if they got Jaden Ivey, A++. So, I mean, well, yes, definitely an A. Definitely an A if they got AJ Griffin at 11. To get a player that quality at 11, that's got to be a win. It's got to be a win. Now, there is one other scenario. It's possible that the Knicks can shake loose the 5th pick from Detroit, the 6th pick from the Pacers, or the 7th pick even from Portland. In that scenario, there's one guy, because Ivy will be gone with the 4th pick, because that means that Sacramento did end up taking Ivy, which I still think I highly doubt it, but that's how everyone's mocking him going there. Here's the guy, Ben Mathurin. Ben Mathurin. The Knicks can get the 5th, 6th, or 7th pick. Ben Mathurin is going to be the guy. Now, I'm higher on Ben Mathurin for almost the similar reasons that I'm high on AJ Griffin, but Ben Mathurin has that extra pop, and he's got that dog mentality. I'm not saying Griffin doesn't, but Griffin is still working through that injury, trying to get back to his burst that he had pre-knee injuries. Mathurin is already there, and I see Mathurin as a potential all-star, where I don't necessarily see AJ Griffin as a potential all-star. I just see him as a very high-level contributing role player who may even could be like a number 3 on a contending team at some point if he can really rise to meet all of his potential. That's like, I think, the ceiling for him. Whereby Mathurin, even though there's people have issues about his handle and his defense and this and that, just watching him, the eye test shouts to me all-star. He has, if he like with Griffin, if he can fully realize his potential, it is all-star. It is definitely all-star. Where like with AJ, even if he realized his potential, may not be an all-star, maybe like a fringe guy. So there it is. That's my prediction. Ben Mathurin with the 5th, 6th, or 7th pick, if the Knicks can shake that deal. AJ Griffin, if we stay at 11. But this is the guy, Jaden Ivey. If the Knicks can pull off that, if the Knicks can get up to get that number 4 pick in however shape and form they can do it, and especially without giving up IQ and Obi, I'm loving this. I'm loving this. I give this a 30% chance of happening. 30% chance of happening. I give this a 60% chance of happening. And then, of course, I give this a 10% chance of happening. Because the thing is, if there's so much effort into acquiring Jaden Ivey right now that it just feels like that this is going to happen. But the Knicks have options. If the Knicks acquire, well, of course, Ivey is just a whole other level. To me, he's a guaranteed all-star. Guaranteed all-star. That's how I feel about him with his explosiveness. Whereby Griffin, fantastic role player. Excellent, who could really contribute and really help the young core improve tremendously. But Ben Mathurin has that extra potential pop, breakout star kind of vibe to him. So that's where we're at. That is where we're at. Man, we're finally here. Let's see what Leon and the guys in the front office are going to pull off. Wish the best of luck. The best of luck to all of us. We need luck. We need luck as a franchise. All right, well, thank you guys so much for watching this. Again, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and drop your comments. I'd love to hear your predictions, your feelings on it. Of course, there's been talk about Johnny Davis, that Thibs is a fan of Johnny Davis and stuff. So he's in there as well as a possible instead of AJ Griffin, because you never know. AJ Griffin might be gone by 11 because he has been getting some good reviews in his workouts. So there's no guarantee that he's even going to be there at 11. But let's hope. Let's hope that by the end of tomorrow night's draft, we can all comfortably give the Knicks an A grade for their draft selections. I will see you after the draft. All right, in the Knicks-Verse.